Hello everyone, here at osandvtxseries.com. This is a Kyocera Echo, a very fascinating device because it houses what Sprint is calling the first dual touchscreen smartphone design, and the device flips open like so to reveal a 4.7-inch diagonal phablet, smallish tablet-sized display for you to interact with. It becomes a large smartphone, but when the device is closed, it resembles a very modest design with a 3.5-inch diagonal screen. Interestingly, the device, again, has a very interesting build, but again, it's from Kyocera, which is a company we haven't really heard a lot of here in the US. They haven't produced a lot of other high-end smartphones or very interesting smartphones that are noteworthy, but again, the Kyocera Echo hopes to break this mold. Taking a look at the design itself, it's quite uninspired, and you can see that because the phone has this unique screen flip-out system, it has quite a chunky appearance, and it's very blocky, very much like a brick, and it's quite heavy as well. So when you're putting it into a jeans pocket, you'll definitely notice it when you're walking around, unfortunately. Otherwise, again, all the ports are on the left-hand side of the device because the right-hand side cannot be occupied while the phone is flipped open. The left-hand side of the phone houses a 3.5mm headphone jack, a micro SD card slot for expanding the built-in memory. There's also a power on and off switch, a volume rocker, a micro USB for charging and syncing, and a lanyard cord. Inside, we have Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, and a 1 GHz processor in addition to 512 megabytes of RAM. The back of the device features a 5.0 megapixel autofocus camera with an LED flash and also shoots 720p HD video with a micro SD card inserted into the phone itself. There's also a loudspeaker that is extremely loud on the back, which is great news for music fans as well as GPS fans because the phone will be heard even in noisy conditions. Now again, the device has a mostly plastic and also some chrome-like finishes in addition to glass and some soft touch material on the back. And again, it makes the device feel pretty premium in the hand, but again, definitely heavy. So if you're someone who values a lot of style in your handset, the Kyocera Echo is not going to be the phone for you. Kyocera has said that they've actually had a list of around 6 to 8 different patents just for the hinge mechanism, which they promised to be extremely strong, which is really good because when we were testing the phone, we were afraid, one of our biggest concerns was that the hinge would not last you through, again, the 2 years of service agreement, which you'll be paying for the Echo, which costs, again, $200 on service. However, again, in our testing, we thought the device was fairly sturdy, so, you will not probably break during your testing and your usage, which is certainly good. There are a few modes you can utilize the phone with. When the phone is flipped open, you can use it at this kind of tilted screen mode, resembling something like a Nintendo DS Lite, that gaming platform. And also you can use it in a typical tablet mode by sliding the phone down like so, and then clamping the two screens together to make the edge a little bit smaller. Now, one of the larger critiques we did have for this phone in particular was the fact that although the edge is small and minimalistic, it still is there. So whenever you're using the phone and watching videos or using the web browser, and there's a line of text that happens to be in the center, it's separated a little bit, and that gets it becomes a little bit of a nuisance, especially if you're watching video or doing a lot of heavy web browsing, even though the screen is a lot larger and easier to utilize in those applications. However, we do know that Kyocera did try, because again, you can see that the edge of the screen itself is quite small, but again, it is there. It's not non-existent, which is one of the defects of this type of technology and design. Otherwise, we have a Android 2.3 build underneath the hood, and for some reason, Kyocera decided to disable multi-touch on this phone. This is another downfall we thought that this particular model had, because as a result, you really can't pinch to zoom when you're using a web browser. You have to use dedicated control keys. And also when you're viewing videos and also images, you can't pinch to zoom, which is something that we really enjoyed in previous phones, and we were kind of curious why Kyocera decided to do that on this capacitive screen. Otherwise, the screen itself is very bright and vibrant. Even in brighter environments, you will be able to read it. Text is extremely clear. It's easily one of the better screens we've ever tested, especially because Kyocera is stating that this isn't an AMOLED panel, so we're kind of impressed for the quality of the screen for a typical LCD that's being implemented here. As you can see, the device also has great viewing angles, and you can even see it in extreme angles, which is certainly nice. There are a few practical applications to having this tilted out dual screen. One of them, of course, is watching videos and browsing the web, and another one of them is multitasking in addition to playing games. The latter, which you can utilize by using exclusive games in the app selection drawer, and allows you to use the secondary screen as a D-pad. Also, if you enjoy texting or doing a lot of heavy texting, the secondary screen is also good because it dubs as an extended keyboard. So if you have issues with smaller keyboard and smaller screens, this is certainly nice as well. For example, if I press the Google key here, you can see that the keyboard pops up, and it's extremely large and takes up the entire bottom of the phone. And this allows for typing in an extremely easy to use and accessible manner, which is something that typical touchscreen smartphones don't exactly have. Again, in terms of the multitasking, that really comes in a few select applications. It doesn't work with everything, but you can actually split the UI so that one application is running on the top, one application is running on the bottom, and you can switch back and forth between two different programs as you are utilizing the phone, which is another unique selling point of the Kyocera Echo. So for example, QView happens to be one of the specific programs that supports this feature, and it's actually a YouTube player. For example, if I wanted to play, this video on Wheel of Fortune, it would be playing on the top of the screen. On the bottom, I can still keep on viewing different videos and then dragging them into the next video. The next video part by taking this video and then dragging it over here so that loads, and that after this video has finished, it will automatically play the next video that's being selected here. And also, again, you can use the multitasking application by putting 2 fingers on each screen, and that will allow you to pop up a menu of specific applications you can run. For example, you can run mail, phone, your browser, your messaging, your gallery, and of course that YouTube video that we talked about here. We can access the browser on the top, for example, and we can also go to google.com to do that. Let's try that right now. And you can see we're going to go to Google and google.com, and that will load on the very top of the screen while the YouTube video is still playing on the bottom, and that allows us to both browse the web as well as to watch the video. And if we want to switch back and forth between the different screens, we can also press again and then now press the switch button in the middle, and that swaps the screen so that we can play video on the top while still browsing the web on the bottom, as you can see here. And that works pretty well. As you can see, there isn't a lot of stuttering that's going on. QView is a very good YouTube player, and we didn't really have any issues there. It still did play back HD video content, which is obviously what we want and what we expect in a modern smartphone. However, as you start multitasking more and more, the device will start to stutter and it will get a little bit more sluggish. We do think that the 1 GHz processor is a little bit underpowered for extensive multitasking needs. Overall, however, as a handset, the battery life of this device is just decent, as you might have guessed. Utilizing 2 screens instead of 1 and having that multitasking on there definitely drains the battery life. So if you plan on using the phone for extended periods of time, perhaps on travel, this is probably not the phone for you either. But otherwise, as a game player, as a video player, it does work, I think, much better than most other phones out there because of that larger screen size. Phone quality on this device is excellent as far as reception is concerned, and in addition, the sound quality of the microphone chip is one of the better ones we've ever heard on a smartphone, especially on Sprint service, so that callers will certainly be pleased if they use this handset. So let's take a closer look at the web browser in particular, and let's go to the New York Times and see how that loads. The swipe keyboard is pre-installed on this phone, so you can use that to type out messages a little bit faster than if you had to use it had to type out them individually. New York Times. And part of the reason we think that Swipe was a smart choice was because the company did not enable multi-touch, so you can't really type as fast as you want. So using Swipe definitely reduces that particular concern. Let's go to NewYorkTimes.com. And you can see that we're using the Wi-Fi connection right now. It's quite fast, and you can see that the drag-down menu does work. When you're using your finger and running it through the bump in the middle, it definitely is a notable piece of plastic that's jutting out. It's not exactly smooth, so that it gets a little bit irksome, but as you start using it, it definitely gets notable. You definitely get accustomed to it, and it becomes less and less of a problem and a just distraction and over time. But again, it does take a little bit of an acclimation period. It will not immediately go away right away. You can see here that text and images right in the center there, they get split. So it does get a little bit annoying in the beginning, but as you start using this device more and more, it does fade away. So that's the good news. You can't get accustomed to it as you again use it more and more. Now the web browser is enabled with Flash Player, so you can play all your Flash ads and videos right from the web browser. So it's another pretty powerful browser in terms of browser performance. Let's go back here and zoom in so we can actually see the text. Again, no multi-touch is enabled, which is unfortunate, but again, you can see that the browser works pretty well. It reloads text to fit the size of the screen, and all the images and content shows up correct. And again, the screen size overall is definitely a huge joy. And although it only measures 4.7 inches diagonally, it's, if some people are comparing this to a Samsung Galaxy Note, for example, the device still has a fairly large screen, especially if you're concerned that it has a very large area in terms of the screen. It's actually larger than that 5-inch screen on the Samsung Galaxy Note because we're talking about diagonally, and this device device in particular has a very boxy and squarish screen, so the diagonal is going to be less than that of a Samsung Note, which has a slimmer portfolio. But if you're talking about the surface area, by multiplying the sides together, the closer that you get to a square, the larger the surface area actually is. So this screen surface area is a lot larger because it has two 3.5-inch screens, but the diagonal is going to seem not as large as something like the Galaxy Note, even though the screen itself, I think, is quite a bit larger. So again, this still holds as one of the largest, I think, phablet-sized screens that you can get on the market right now. So you can see the web browser does work pretty well. Again, if you're reading text, it gets a little bit annoying, but you definitely get used to it, and it's definitely better than, I guess, just having one screen, in my opinion. What's also interesting is that when you purchase this phone from the manufacturer, the device comes in the box with 2 batteries instead of 1, and also you have an external battery charger. Again, we talked about how battery life wasn't the strong suit for this particular phone. It can only last around a day before you have to recharge it, especially with heavy usage and application. However, with 2 batteries, we definitely think that this concern goes away quite a bit. So overall, as an Android smartphone, it has medium moderate performance, and again, the camera itself at 720p for the video quality is definitely pretty good, and the microphone is a strong suit in terms of call quality as well. It's definitely an innovative and unique phone, which we really enjoy testing, because in this day and age, a lot of smartphones are getting very ubiquitous and very similar, and having something that really juts out, having a company that's willing to take a risk and willing to design something that's so different is something that is fruitful, and I think that is something that more companies should be doing instead of just putting out more and more devices that are so similar to one another onto the market. So we definitely applaud Kyocera for taking the effort to go and do that. Some other preloaded bloatware or applications include Jive. We also have some Sprint services like Sprint for Football Live, Sprint Radio, Sprint TV and Movies, Sprint Zone, and Google Talk. The Sims is also built onto this device. Telenav GPS for a monthly subscription to have GPS connection. We have Google Navigation, which is free, and of course the usual Google services and HD games that you can utilize with the Android platform are all available on this particular device. So again, a very interesting device. Overall, would we recommend it? At this point, we think that the pros definitely outweighs the cons, so we would definitely recommend people to go out and check out the Kyocera Echo. It might not be the most powerful phone out there, but it certainly is one of the more unique ones. So if you can find this at a very good price and you are looking for a phone on Sprint service, I would say definitely I would recommend this particular model. So thanks for watching here at osandbtxreviews.com. This has been our video review of the Kyocera Echo.